Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. Welcome to a creative kickoff for Photoshop, which happens every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So that's why we call it a morning kickoff. But I realize depends on where you are in the world. For example, for me, it's noon. It's a noon kickoff. For some of you, you're watching it in the evening, depending on what country you're in. So I want to thank you all for coming in. Let me just get some chat windows going here. I can see Carol and General Kenobi in the chat already, and I see Tim Dawson over on YouTube. So welcome everyone, and today will be no different. We will do some things in Photoshop. We will do some things today a little bit different in Express, and today's topic is just that. It's Express for Photoshop users. And I'll explain what that means because it depends on where you're coming from. There's a couple of ways to use Adobe Express if you're a Photoshop user. One could be, hey, I'm a designer and I know Photoshop inside and out, and I want to make content for others to use that don't have Photoshop. That's one way to do it. Or I'm a Photoshop user and I do stuff and I make images and I want to share them on social media, and an easy way to do that is using Adobe Express. So we're going to talk about both ways to use Adobe Express depending on where you're coming from Photoshop, or even if you don't use Photoshop, how to use Adobe Express. All right, one last housekeeping item. If you're watching this on YouTube, Twitter, or X, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, depending on where you're watching it, great. You can hang out there. I will try and monitor those chats, but the main chat happens over here at b.net/Adobe Live. So if you want to be in the main chat that's moderated by Wade, and Wade can answer the questions that I don't get, he that way you can be in the chat where if I miss your question, it will likely still get answered. But I'll try and keep an eye on everything. I see a bunch of hellos coming in from John, from Tushumi. I guess hopefully I'm saying that right. Hi, Nina Clevin. And I see a bunch of people coming in over YouTube. So Wade says I'll try. All right, so without further ado, because we only got like 22 minutes left, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. These things go short. We're usually used to doing an hour for my master classes and for my other streams, but when you only have 30 minutes total, it goes by really quick. All right, so first of all, for those of you who are brand new to this, what is Adobe Express? Adobe Express is a website. It's not an app you download, at least not on your computer. It is an app you can download on your mobile devices. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. But just head over to express.adobe.com, sign in with your Adobe ID. If you're a Creative Cloud member, depending on which plan you have, you'll have access to more goodies. But even if you're not a customer, even if you're not you're not a Creative Cloud member, you can still use Adobe Express for free. That's right. It's free to use for everyone. It's free for nonprofits as well. Nonprofits get access to the premium features. So it's free. But if you are a paying either Express member, Creative Cloud member, then you might have access to you will have access to some more goodies. All right, depending on which plan you're on. All right, so let's dive into the website. I'm just going to give you a very quick overview. Then we're going to pop over to Photoshop, where I've got a Photoshop document waiting. We're going to talk about how to integrate that Photoshop document into Express. All right, so without further ado, at the very top, when you sign in with your Adobe ID, what do you want to make today? And it's in categories. Do you want to do something for social media? Do you want to make a video? Yes, it can edit videos. You can edit a video from scratch. You can use, of course, your own video or stock video. Do you want to work on a photo? So if you want to create a photo as your end result, you can bring a photo in and do some edits to it using Firefly's generative fill capabilities, or just editing, making it brighter, darker, more contrast, add a filter to it, so forth and so on. You want to create a document, you want to create a marketing piece, or you want to use generative AI. You can do that right here in Express, and again, for free. You get so many generations for free. You get more generations, obviously, if you're a paid member. Now, we're going to definitely spend some time right here, start from your own content, because this is where you would upload your Photoshop files, or your JPEGs, or your PNGs, or whatever it is you have, or videos, or you want to start with that. Now, from there, you can jump into a specific kind of format if you know what you want to create. So for example, I just put up on my Instagram an Instagram story about this particular stream. So I of course created an Instagram story in Express using, and I don't have to know the size. It created it for me. And then if you scroll down, you'll get into other things that suggest you might want to try. So all the Firefly stuff is here for generative AI. Quick actions are here, and you should never overlook these because these are some cool quick actions. So for example, if you had a photo and you just want to remove the background of it, that's it. That's all you want to do. You don't want to put it on social media. You don't want to do anything else. If you're a Photoshop user, you go into Photoshop and do that. But if you weren't a Photoshop user, you could upload that photo and remove the background right here. This is one of my favorite quick actions, and that's after I'm finished making a video, I upload it to, even no matter where I edit it. If I edit it in Adobe Premiere, if I edit it in Premiere Rush on my phone, if I do it in Express, no matter where I edit that video, when I'm done with the video, I bring it in here where it will put the captions in front. As you're talking, it shows the words for the people that are watching your video on mute. That's built in. You can do that as a quick action. Again, just upload your video. It'll automatically generate the captions for it. If there's any typos or words it didn't get right, you can go ahead and correct those before you export the final video with the caption on it. And then, of course, there are more quick actions like generate a QR code, and just there's lots of quick actions. More coming as always. And then there's the templates. So this is the thing that's great if you're not a designer and you want to have something that looks good. There are thousands and thousands of professional templates depending on what you want. So if I was going to make that Instagram story, I can click on Instagram story and look, there are tons of templates. Some have motion and video, some are just stills. It just depends on what you're looking for. So if you're trying to create a video, you can do that from here as well. If you want to make an Instagram reel or TikTok, you can do that from one of the templates. So it's template driven, or you can start with a blank page, or you can start with your Photoshop file, which is the best part. And we'll get to that in just a moment. So I'm almost done scrolling down, and there are add-ons for the things that aren't built in. So these are like third-party support. So for example, if you keep your content in Dropbox or Google Drive, there's an add-in to bring in that content from your Dropbox or from your Google Drive. There's titling, there's a better or more professional QR code generator. There's all kinds of add-ins from third parties that you can use, and these are, of course, if they're here, we know they work, we approve them to be able to be used. And then it gets into all the generative stuff, and that's it for the quick overview. Now, let's say, just for the sake of, I want to do something like I described, I want to make an Instagram story, and let's say I want to promote my new business opening, my new whatever, photography studio, since I'm a photographer, let's go with that. And so I can say, okay, browse the templates, and that will show me the templates that I can use. And here they are over here on the left-hand side, and I get a blank page. So even if I don't click one of these templates, and I want to bring in my own stuff, I can just bring in my own stuff right now. I don't have to use a template. But if I do want to use a template, I can search for photography or photographer, whichever one you want, and it will start to bring up photographer-based templates. So I think there is one in here that I used earlier. I did save that as a one that I could always use over and over again. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't see it right off the top of my head, but let's go ahead and just grab a second one that I kind of like. And I kind of liked, where was it? It was up here at the top. I kind of like this one. All right, so I click that template, and now it's completely editable. So you can start with a template, and even let's just say, oh my God, no, I don't like that one. I want this one instead. You can change your mind. You can say, no, you don't have to start over. You just click on the one you want and then go from there. So now, oh, you know what? I do like this one better. So I'm going to go with this one instead. And now I can go with this one and start making my content. Now I noticed that the size of this one doesn't look right. Even though the rest of these look like Instagram stories, and maybe it's just me, this one looks like it's a little wider than it should be, but we'll check that at the end. All right, we'll check it right now. Let's go to resize, and I can say make this an Instagram story just to make sure, and resize it. Yep, I was right. It was a little too wide. So You can resize a template right off the bat. If you don't think it's right, or you don't like the size, or you want a different size, you can resize it. Now that I got it resized, of course, I'm not just long, or is it? Yeah, just long. I'm not just long. So first thing I want to do is change the name. So I can just double click and start typing Terry White. Now that was easy. 2020, it's not 2020 anymore. It's 2024. Great. Photography and helping you capture your everyday life. That's not what I do. Helping you capture your best self. I do portraits. So I change it to whatever I want to say. Now, of course, this is still Jess. I'm not Jess. So I want to grab a different photo for that. I don't know if I have a photo of me handy, but let's go find one. Let's go replace. And now if I want to just say, hey, I'm not even interested in a photo of me. I just want to use a stock photo. Probably not as a photographer. I probably want to use my own photography. But if this wasn't for a photographer and you didn't have the right photo, you can search Adobe stock right here, and there are 10 million things came up for photography. So you have a large library of content to use, and no, you don't have to pay extra to use these. If you find the right photo you want, you find the photo you want to use. Now again, as a photographer, I wouldn't want to use one of these. I'd want to use one of my own. But just letting you know that you can search stock right here in Adobe Express. And remember I said as a paid member, you get access to more goodies? Well, you notice some of these have a little crown over them. The ones that have the little crowns, those are the premium stock assets. There are some templates that have that little crown. Those are the premium templates. So if you see the little crown, that means you'd have to be a premium member to use that. So basically a paid member. The free members wouldn't get to use those particular ones. But out of 10 million, I'm going to guess there's a bunch of non-premium ones that a non-paying member could use. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say upload from my device, and I'm going to go into pictures of Terry White, and I've got a bunch of pictures in here of me. I'm just going to see if I've got one here with my camera. I think those are way down here because it's an older picture, or maybe not. Those are all having fun with AI. All right, I'm just going to grab one just for the sake of example, but I'll show you where I would get the right one to use in a second. So let's say I'm just trying. Oh, there it is. Here's one of me shooting on my iPhone. Okay, so there's me shooting on my iPhone, and I noticed, hey, that picture came in black and white. I know that picture's color. What happened? Because the template probably has some effect over that picture. So when I click on it, and sure enough, I see effects is blue here, over here, and here, let me jump over to the right. That's odd. My button didn't work. Let me do it manually. Oh, no, it's right. It just, the thing is wrong. Here, let's do that. Okay, there we go. So I see effects is blue, so that means it's been used. So if I go to effects, sure enough, there's a grayscale filter over that photo on this template. Hey, you want the photo back in color? Just turn off the filter. So anytime you bring in a photo and it doesn't quite look the way you know that photo looks, then by all means, just go into the effects and turn off the effect or change the effect to whatever you want. All right, so now this Instagram story is done from the standpoint of I've changed everything in it to be correct. I'm using my photo. I'm using the text that I wanted to use. I resize it to make sure it's right for a story. I could be done, but there's so much more you can do. I don't have to live with everything that's in here. If I don't like this line coming down the middle, I can delete it. If I want to add some more text, I can go to text and say add text, and that will give me some sample text to work with, and I can just change it to photography workshop this Saturday. There's not one, by the way, but I'm just letting you know that I could change that. Then I can go in and change the color to what I want the color to be, because it's going to be white. I'm going to move it up to the top, and I'll change that to black. I want it also to be dynamic, so I can say make that dynamic, and I can also change the line spacing. It's a little spaced out for me. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit, and then I can go ahead and just click off that and move it up. So great, I've added something to this now, and I can scale it down. If I don't need it to be that big, I can move it wherever I need it to be, and I can put this anywhere I want and do whatever I want with it. So even though you started with a template, you can clearly make it whatever you want. Now, I mentioned that I would show you where to get the photo that I know I want to use. If I knew where it was in my operating system, I'd just go to that folder and import it and replace the existing one. But keep in mind that as a premium member or a paid member, you have access to brands, and you can create as many brands as you want. So I have a brand over here. If I go to my brands, I have a TW brand and I have a TWP brand. TWP, Terry White Photography, versus just Terry White. If I go to my Terry White Photography brand, guess what? It's got some photos in it. It's got photos of me with various cameras. So if I want to bring that photo in, there's that photo of me. I can put it right here and get rid of the other one behind it. And you're saying, well, wait, you can't see the 2024 because now that photo's on top of it. On the right-hand side, as a Photoshop user, you're used to working in layers. So you got layers over here. Just pull the photo down so it's behind that other stuff. You can scale the photo, make it different size. You can also crop the photo. So if I crop it in to make it more vertical, I can do that as well, and then I can scale it up to be a little bit bigger. So you have the choice to grab stuff from your brand, including colors. That blue is just the blue from the template, but from my brand, let's switch to my brand instead of the Adobe brand, the TWP brand. My colors were various shades of purple back in the day. So I can go ahead and just grab a color to stay on brand. So now I'm using the brands for my color. I can also say, hey, that's not my font. That's the font that was in the template. I can go into the fonts. I can go to my brands, go to my TWP brand, which is down here. There it is. And then I can grab the font from my brand as well, so that I'm always staying on brand using the things that I set up ahead of time to match and to work. So that's a quick just overview of how you would start with a template and then get going. Now let's talk about Photoshop. Let's jump out of this. Let's go back home. Let's go to Photoshop. Because in the Photoshop realm of things, you're working with a Photoshop file. So this is all layers. There's a layer for each one of these items. They're all in the layers panel. All the text is there. There's a group with all the graphic elements. So this is a typical Photoshop document with a lot of stuff in it. Now, I saved this Photoshop document out as a Photoshop document, a .psd. And now when I go back to Express, I can, remember I said I would show you this? You click this button over here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go to my Adobe Express folder. There it is. And there's my getting started. And there's my 4th of July PSD. So this is the same one we just had open in Photoshop. I'm going to bring that in. So I can bring in a layered Photoshop document. I can bring in a layered Illustrator file. I can bring in PDFs from InDesign or anywhere else, and it will convert those into editable Express documents. So I can then go in and change anything about it in Express. It does not go back and impact the Photoshop document, but the Photoshop document's linked, so, or I could place it as a link. So if I do make changes to the Photoshop document, it will update the Express document. So there's ways to work that way as well. So I'll go ahead and open that up, and sure enough, it's all here. Now, the conversion is not always perfect. So for example, I see that this squiggly line got moved down a little bit. I'll just move it back up. But in terms of everything being there, everything's here. And so if I wanted to change this from a beach party to a ice cream, oh, you know what? Let's change the whole thing. Ice cream social. And then I need to make that text smaller. Now I've got ice cream social. So in other words, I've started with a Photoshop document, brought it into Express, and then I can go ahead and now use this. Now, why would you do this? Why you could just I could make that change in Photoshop. Why would I come here to do this? Well, now that I have the power of Express, remember that resize thing I showed you a minute ago? Well, now let's say I want to put this out for different platforms, different social media. So I can go ahead, well, first, before I do that, hang on, close that 1 second. I just want to go ahead and just make sure the background that I set this is an important step if you want to resize things, that you set whatever your background element is as the page background. So in other words, that big graphic in the background, I want that to be the page background. Now, it doesn't change it visually. What does that do? It means that when I resize it, it takes that into account for all the sizes I make. So now when I resize this, I want an Instagram story, I want a TikTok video, and I want a Facebook post. And again, I don't have to think about what those sizes are. I just check them off. And there are literally hundreds of different sizes for all the different things you might ever want to resize. Now, instead of me resizing one thing, I actually, did I turn those off? Hang on, get started. Okay, I want Instagram. Nope. I want Instagram, story, TikTok, and Facebook post. Now, instead of me resizing just the one, notice because I clicked more than one, I have duplicate and resize. So when I duplicate and resize, it will duplicate the post and resize them all for that. Now, I notice my background still didn't take into account for this, but no problem. I can go in and just fix that. And let's go ahead and detach it. I'm not sure why that didn't just take into a scale for the whole thing, but maybe it was trying to constrain it to be proportional. So now we'll move that all the way to the back again. And so, yes, after you resize, you might have to do a little tweaking to make sure everything's still where you want it to be. For example, same thing here. My background did not do what I wanted it to do, but that's okay. Easy enough to fix. And then pull it down. And last but not least, that last size, which is the square. And same thing, we'll detach it this time. And we'll, yeah. See, when I set pages background, it did the right size. So I'm not sure why I didn't take into account for the resize. But here they all are. Here's the original. Here's the Instagram story. Here's the TikTok video. And you're saying they look the same. They are, because they're the same size. And here's the square Facebook Instagram post. Now, I said this was going to be a TikTok video. What's video about it? Well, I could bring in a video, but I can also start making this into a video by animating it. So if I go to animation and I say I want to animate this in and I want to have it grow, then that will grow in. And the minute I animate one thing, it becomes a video, a timeline. So then I can start animating all the other things, which is also something you couldn't do in the previous Express and Spark. You can only animate one thing for the whole post. So I can animate this in, and I can say that, hey, I want that to slide in or drift in from the right side. And so that'll just drift in from the right side. I can have this fourth. Let's animate that. And you get an idea. I'm just picking different elements and animating. I'm going to have that spin in. That's spun in, great. And now if I were to play this, they're all going to happen at the same time. Or I could say that, hey, no, I want to animate these in different times. So I want the spin to happen a little bit later. So because I turned on show layer timing, I can adjust the spin to come in later. I can then adjust the ice cream social to come in after that. And it shows me the little dot where the other one's going to come in. So now when I play it, they all come in at their different times. And I could still add a scene where I add more content and add a video and do other things as well. All right, so with that said, how would I now export this all out? Well, I could download it. And if I say the selected page, because this is technically a page, even though it's going to be a video, notice it's giving me a video format. If I download all the pages, it's going to give me graphics for the graphics pages and a video for the video page. And it will just download it all to my downloads folder and allow me to do it. Now, one more thing. What if I just wanted to share this right now to social media? Well, I can hit share. I can hit share and nothing happens. Refresh the page. There we go. I can hit share and schedule a post. And this is how I scheduled that Twitter or that X post, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram story. You can schedule out to your various platforms and it will post on your behalf. So right now it's uploading the video. I can say post it on my Terry White Facebook page, my Instagram, and my X. And there's the video ready to go. And I can say, for Instagram, make it a story because it's temporary. I can add the caption. I can even have it generate a caption for me based on what I type in. I could preview it and I can schedule it what date to go out on, and it will post it on my behalf on that date. Last but not least, I'm out of time, but I just wanted to point out that you also can share out a template. So a remixable template for those that are making Photoshop files for others to use in Express. Hopefully you got something out of that quick description. That's my time. Thanks everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.